Hey guys, I'm Josh Benitez and this is Texan Woodworks. Welcome back to the shop. Today we're back at the table saw. We're going to be filming another video, but instead of maintenance today, we're going to be working on how to make our saw safer, accurate, and just overall more precise. These are the JessEm Clears Cut Table Saw Stock Guides. We're going to go ahead and get these unboxed. We're going to show you everything that's in them, go ahead and get them set up and installed. We'll rip through some stuff and show you how they work. Let's go ahead and get this unboxed and we'll see what it's all about. So right on top, we've got our instruction manual, kind of gives you some warranty information, tells you what they're all about. Of course, it's got it in multiple languages. Just kind of show you how to install it, walk you through setup. Next, right up top, we've got the actual rail, which is the mounting system. That's what's going to actually be embedded in the fence itself. You've got your installation tools. There's a screwdriver, some screws, and some nuts and bolts in here. We've got one of the stocks right in here. And I believe the other one's going to be right in this box as well. Yep, we got the other one right in here. Let me get rid of all this packaging. We'll go ahead and start to make some sense of these instructions and we'll get right back at it. So now that I've got everything unpackaged, going through the first couple steps of instructions, and this is actually really easy. So you're going to take this mounting track, and it's got several different holes, and they're all notated in here what each of them are designed to do. So what I'll go ahead and do is I'll bring you guys over here. I'll show you all the parts and all the little nuts and bolts, and we'll kind of get going. So again, we've got the mounting track here. This is going to slide right inside of those little tubular systems. Now granted, it's going to vary slightly depending on which saw you've got. But anyway, that's where that's going to go. We've got the provided screwdriver that has the exact head on it. That's what we're going to be used for these self-tapping screws here. Speaking of, we've got 8 of those. We've got 4 of these low square head, as they call them. We've got a 19 drill bit, or number 19 drill bit, excuse me. We've got an Allen wrench. We've got a couple of square nuts here, and then of course the 2 stock guides. By the way, shout out JessEm. There's my router table inlay. Love that thing. Anyway, that's for another video. So we're going to go ahead and get this all lined up. We're going to get it clamped down, and I'll show you exactly how we're going to get these holes drilled. We're going to use these for pilot holes. We're going to go ahead and use those self-tapping screws for these holes here. We'll get it all placed in there, and then these 2 stock guides simply just slide right on. So let me get you mounted back up, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So you've noticed we've got the pilot holes for the number 19 drill bit. Like I said, we're going to make sure that those, because they are oriented towards the front of the track, and what we're going to do is we're going to place those towards the back of the saw, aka the outfeed side. So we've got the infeed side where I stand, we've got the power switch, all the adjustment cranks and everything, and then we've got the outfeed side. The outfeed side is where those smaller drill holes are going to be placed. So we're going to go ahead and place that in here. Now again, depending on your saw and the fence system you've got, these are all going to be slightly different. I've seen some people that have made videos that you've had to put like a small shim, a piece of plywood, if you will, depending on the size of your fence will depend on the size of that shim, how thick, how wide, etc. But anyway, what you want to do that for a couple reasons. One, if this track won't fit inside these tubular systems. 2, if for whatever reason your fence is not flat horizontally. Or 3, if you just really don't want to drill into that table saw fence. Let's say maybe it's metal. Let's say maybe it's an aftermarket really nice one that you just don't want to dig into a whole lot. It makes it super easy because you can actually mount it to the plywood, and you can attach the plywood multiple different ways, and I won't really get into that. But anyway, there's a lot of other videos that'll kind of talk about that. I'm mainly talking about the Delta saw that I've got. Okay, so for mine, it's a really snug fit, which I'm actually pretty happy about because I don't have to clamp it down a whole bunch. So we're just going to slide it in. May take a little bit of convincing, but we'll get it there. So it says you want to make sure, because most table saws, now again, this is going to vary depending on your saw, but most table saws from front to back are going to be 27 inches, and this mounting track is 30 inches. Therefore, a little bit of math tells you want to have it overhang the front and back by about 1.5 inches. So we're going to grab a tape measure and make sure we get that all lined up. Now mine is quite a snug fit. Yours may be a little easier. I hope it wouldn't be any harder because, I mean, this thing is in there. I don't have it clamped down, glued, taped, nothing, and it's not going anywhere. So it kind of works out. It's going to be a little bit of a pain if I do have to move it, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Let me go ahead and get these holes drilled. We'll get these mounting screws in and we'll go from there. All right, so the instructions say, now that we've got those 8 holes drilled, make sure and blow off all the shavings, brush them off if you need to. We'll go ahead and pop the track off. We'll slide it forward about 1/2 of an inch, and we'll go ahead and place these self-tapping screws right there in those pre-drilled holes. Cool? Let's get to it. Make sure we clean off any of those shavings from the rail, as well as the actual fence. Okay. Now again, make sure the orientation is correct. We want the smallest holes, the ones you just drilled through, towards the back of the fence or the outfeed side. And then all we're gonna do, we're gonna line that very first set. So you got 3 sets of holes. Again, the front one's for the mounting. The one right behind that, I'm sorry, the drilling, pre-drilling. The one right behind that is for the self-tapping screws. Those are the silver ones that came with your kit. The third set of holes is going to be for these pan head screws here with the Allen wrench top. Okay, so for my saw, I'm using the self-tapping. So I'll go ahead and make sure it lines up with that second set of holes. The ones right after the ones we just pre-drilled. Make sure it's aligned as best we can. And then we'll start to slide it back on. And it looks like we're all lined up. Let's double check. We'll pop one screw in there. Use the provided screwdriver. Go ahead and get these 2 corners first. Make sure everything lines up the way we want it to. And we'll go ahead and continue to get the rest of these knocked out. I want to make sure and get these as snug as possible. Now, you don't want to strip them, you don't want to over tighten them, do anything like that, which is why they provided you with a hand screwdriver instead of an additional drill bit. They don't want you to pop it in a drill and, you know, get it all stripped, and they want to make sure that everything fits just right. You want to make sure that it's just snug enough to where it's not going anywhere, but not so much where we're going to strip it and really compromise the integrity of the actual fence itself. So now that we got that on, let's go ahead and keep reading. We'll figure out what's next. So from the looks of it, basically all we're going to do is just take these. We're going to loosen this clamp knob here, which is what holds it down whenever you've got a workpiece on there. We're going to loosen that real quick. We're going to slide these on, and really one on the infeed side, one on the outfeed side, and we should be good. So let's double check these tracks here. Go Go ahead and loosen that one. And this one. First one's in, second one's in. We'll put one on the outfeed side. Go ahead and loosen this and keep it out of the way for the moment. Same thing on the second one. So this knob in the front, the silver one, same one in the back. Those are going to be what actually hold this track in place. So we're going to loosen that just enough to where it'll kind of slide in these slots. Make sure and put it on the outfeed side, or infeed side, excuse me. We'll get these out of the way. So my blade runs from here to here. So I'm gonna make sure and put one just after the blade and one just before the blade. We're gonna tighten that down just a little bit, not too tight. We're just kind of testing the fit right now. Let me loosen this knob here, get that puppy out of the way. Man, that feels so nice. It's always nice when you buy quality tools. They just feel so good from the very beginning. So we'll go ahead and slide this over. Now keep in mind the saw's unplugged. I'm just raising the blade to kind of get some alignment. So if we drop this one down here, and we drop this one down here, we've got this one is in front of the blade, this one is behind the blade. Neither are even within about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of the blade, so we're good there. You never want to put it right next to the blade, and you definitely don't want to put it on the left side of the blade. Okay, that's going to cause a severe kickback, which is not at all what we want. Okay, so we've got the blade, this is at its maximum height. We're clear here. We're clear here. In all reality, at a maximum height, I'm really not using this a whole bunch anyway. If I need that much cutting capacity, I'll typically run over to my bandsaw. But just as kind of a good safety reference. And if for whatever reason you are cutting smaller pieces, larger pieces, whatever, these silver knobs can adjust and they can slide back and forth as you see fit. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's double check. We'll adjust it just a little bit. Make sure and tighten that down as tight as you can get with just your fingers. I wouldn't grab pliers or anything crazy like that. Fine tune that adjustment. Perfect. Go ahead and pick these up. That's the other great thing I love about these is you see if for whatever reason I don't want to use them, let's say I'm not making a through cut, or let's say I'm using a really large piece that won't fit or whatever, I've still got full clearance in the entire fence here simply by putting them up. So when they're in use, they're going to be down just like this. You take this black knob, you loosen it, pop it back up, tighten it down, and that thing's not going anywhere. So it's completely out of your way, and it's more than flush on the actual fence itself, so it won't interfere with cutting anything. As I'm finishing up the tail end of these instructions, I'm also realizing that one of the main reasons they made this track universal and they make these in rails and slots so they can come on and off, not only can you adjust them forwards and backwards, you also have the ability to completely take them off if for whatever reason, let's say you have like a spline jig or anything like that that runs over top of the fence, anything that you need to mount over it to actually run along it, this is going to completely come off. And that casing that you made, that little house, if you will, that kind of goes right over top of the fence, is going to clear that track more than enough. Now we're going to run through how to set these up and how to make sure that you get the right height for the actual stock guides themselves. So let me grab a workpiece and then we'll get going. All right, so I do have the blade lowered, saw is unplugged. I'm not going to run through any actual live cuts right now. We're mainly just going for demonstration purposes to kind of show you how these set up and how easy they are to adjust. Okay, so we've got a 6/4 piece of hard maple, just kind of an off-cut chunk. And then the same thing, we've got a piece of 3/4 inch purple heart. Okay, so what we're going to do here, let's say we wanted to make a cut at, we'll go 4 inches. Go ahead and lock that down. What you're going to do is you're going to loosen this black knob and you'll lower the guide. Now you'll notice there are 2 separate depths. Okay, you've got the roller depth, which is this silicone roller here. That's the one that's at a 5-degree angle that kind of holds it into the fence. And you've got this black piece here, which is the actual stock guide. It's the body or the chassis, if you will. Okay, the black piece is a little bit higher. The roller is a little bit lower. Okay, so what you want to do is when you're setting up, you want to adjust this to make sure that you're going off of the black piece. Reason being, when you set it up here, you'll notice these are these little springs right here. So what you'll do is you'll set it up against the black piece here. We'll go ahead and lock that down. We'll do the same thing right over here. Go ahead and loosen that up. We'll set it to the black piece here. Go ahead and lock that down. Now if you notice, when I push it through, watch what happens here. These kind of raise up just a little bit. See them raise up? That's what keeps that tension on the board. You'll notice it kind of comes right off of one and boom, smooth clear into the other one. Now watch right here. The spring's gonna raise right as it goes through. See that? That's what's keeping tension. That does a couple different things. One, it keeps downward pressure. Two, because these rollers are at a 5-degree angle, they actually continuously pull the workpiece into the fence itself. Now, I don't know if any of you have dealt with kickback. I have, and it's a very scary sight. I'm very lucky to still have all 10, but we know that there are plenty out there that have not. And even if it wasn't your fingers, it could have been someone behind you, it could have been the wall, it could have been you getting hit in the chest, whatever it is, that kickback can be brutal. So we try to avoid it at all costs, and these stock guys do a great job of that. There are a couple different ways that they do that. Again, they keep it into the fence. So a lot of times kickback actually happens when there's a separation, there's a gap of air in between the fence and your workpiece. So let's say I'm pushing this through and I'm pushing it through like this and it's lined up, but the second it passes the blade and you see this gap here, and that's what causes the blade actually gets pinched by the two pieces of wood that are fighting one another. And the blade, because it's spinning towards you, it gets caught on a piece of that wood, can't cut it fast enough, so it spits it right back at you, AKA kickback, okay? These stock guides prevent that from happening in a multitude of ways. Number one being these rollers, okay? These rollers are at a 5-degree angle so that no matter what you do, even if you try to pull it away, those stock guides are gonna continuously pull it into the fence. It's gonna have a 5-degree angle that forces it, regardless of how stubborn it wants to be or how long or unwieldy the piece may be, it's gonna force it into that fence, okay? On top of that, because we just set it up to where the rollers are slightly lower than we need them to be, it's keeping downward pressure. That's what these springs do, and they make sure to keep it flush to the tabletop, okay? On top of that, you'll notice I'm pushing it forward. I can't pull it back. These are one-way rollers, okay? Now, if I force it, I can kind of yank it and pull it out this way, but nobody's really doing that, especially when the table saw is actually on and running, okay? So as we're pushing this through, it keeps kickback by keeping it into the fence, by keeping it pressed down so that it doesn't fly up or anything like that. And on top of that, it prevents it from coming backwards. So even if the saw were to catch, you have enough time to flip that off switch and not have to worry about anything because it's keeping it down, it's keeping it against the fence, and it's keeping it from coming back towards you, okay? Now, in all reality, I shouldn't be standing right here behind the blade anyway, but even if I am just slightly off to the side on either side, I have the ability to know that these clear-cut stock guides are gonna keep me safe, okay? They're gonna keep your cuts a lot more accurate. You're not gonna have those digs or anything like that where the blade just kind of skips on you a little bit, especially if, let's say, your piece is a little bit bowed, or I don't know, let's say you've perfectly jointed and planed it, but you let it sit for a couple days when it was raining and it, decided to move a little bit on you. When you throw it across these stock guides, you know that you're gonna be protected, okay? And that's the main reason you invest in a tool like this in a quality company like JessEm, because they do such a great job. And it's so easy to install, it's so easy to use, and from the second you put them on your table saw, you're gonna feel a lot better about everything that you're doing with the table saw. I almost forgot to talk about this Purple Heart. So what we'll do, we'll go ahead and pull this out of here. So you see we've got that fully adjusted and set up for this hard maple piece. Now again, this is 6/4, AKA an 1.5 inches. Okay, this is about 3/4 of an inch. I'm gonna show you exactly how easy this is. We'll line this up right underneath those black pieces. You loosen this, just a little bit. Drops down, tighten it, loosen this. You hear it drop down, we'll tighten that. And just like that, it's adjusted for the next piece. You can push it through, knowing that it's gonna be safe, knowing that it's gonna be accurate, and you're fighting kickback along the way. Just like that, it's that easy. I don't know about you guys, I am really, really excited to put these to use. I've got several projects in the queue right now that I'm getting ready to pump up, and I wanted to make sure and get this video done first because I just got a lot of big stuff coming, and these being done first, one was gonna give me a lot less stress, and two, I know that I'm gonna have a significantly higher level of accuracy, safety, precision overall when I'm coming to the table saw. So I'm really, really excited about it, and I think it's gonna be great. I think this would be a phenomenal addition to any table saw, to any workshop. I mean, the table saw for a large majority of workshops is going to be the workhorse of your shop. So, I mean, if you use a table saw, for every project, which I would imagine every one of you do, you got to get a set of these, okay? I'll go ahead and link them down below, as well as, everything else that I used, and grab yourself a set of these. I promise you, you won't regret it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, make sure if you got something from this, if you like these stock guides, drop me a like down below. If you have any questions, if you want to know a little bit more about it, drop me a comment below, okay? Give me some feedback, let me know. On top of that, I also want you guys to subscribe to the channel. I'm starting to push out some videos on a much more regular basis. And this summer has been huge for my business, and I'm trying to continue that way. So if you guys want to see what I'm doing, the kind of work that I'm pushing out, and just kind of follow me along my tour as a woodworker, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel and share with a friend. Let me know if I can do anything for you guys. And until then, y'all stay safe in the shop.